Hi everybody, in this video we will talk about the solution to the TokenPass problem part B. So just to remind everybody, part B was written inside the TokenPass class, and what you're basically doing is distributing the tokens. So just a quick overview of part B. If I wanted to distribute these tokens from this spot, pretend the current player is right here, I would just go click and then goes 1, 2, 3. And then if I want to distribute the tokens from here, or let's pretend the current player is here, I would just click on this and it'd go click 1, 2, 3. See how it wraps around? So let's look at my solution. But before we do, let's actually look back at the hints that I used to strategize this problem. So remember, when you're distributing the tokens, you need to do two things. Number one, pick up all the tokens in the current spot you're in. And number two, continually distribute the tokens until there are none left. So let's go over each of these ideas. So, give me a minute to scroll to the proper place. Here we go. So, for part one, we first have to pick up the tokens from the current spot and store them in a variable. So we're going to do that because later on we need to use that variable to figure out how many times do I need to distribute a token. And we'll use that for the loop down here. So let me zoom in really quick just so that this is a little more readable. Okay, so first, we will take items from the board. Remember, the board was our array with all the spots in it. So we just take board and then current player, because remember, the current player is the current position in the board we're in. So we're taking that variable. So take that, store it in a variable. That will be the number of tokens we need to distribute. Also, when we pick up the tokens from the spot, remember that once I pick up the tokens from the spot, there will be no more tokens in that spot because I will be distributing them to the other places in the board. So I should say board square bracket current player equals 0 to just say that the current spot now has 0 tokens. In the next part, we need to go ahead and do what we set up here, which was we need to continually distribute the tokens until there are none left. So let's talk about that once I get to the right spot. And here we go. Not there. Right here is the solution I used. So here's the solution on how to distribute the tokens. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing this is a lot of people would just use the current player and then increment the current player as they're going along, which in a lot of ways would sort of work, but remember that the problem specified for part B in its post condition, the current player, there it is, the current player has not changed. We don't want the current player to necessarily change because it literally tells us that in the directions. And that's pretty much it. So let's take a look at this. So what I did was I created a variable called spot that would represent the current spot we are in the array. So where are we? Are we in spot 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.? So I use that to store the next spot where the token should go. So where's the next spot on the board where the token should go? Well, we should say current player plus 1 because that's the spot just to the right of the current player. So again, if I'm distributing a token and the current player was here, the next spot would be the one right after that. Next, we should use a loop to distribute the tokens. So this is where we use our variable num to distribute. What is that? Well, we stated that up here. That's the number of tokens that we grabbed from the current spot to distribute to the rest of the board. So, while that is greater than 0, in other words, keep looping while we still have tokens, and we're going to keep going until there are none left. So, we'll go ahead and just put the token in the correct spot on the board. So that's just board and then spot. So this will grab the certain the number of tokens in the board, and if we just do plus plus, that will go ahead and increment that the number of tokens in that spot. You could also go ahead and do just like plus equals 1, that's totally fine, or you could say the spot will become what it used to be plus 1, and that is basically doing the exact same thing. I'll just change it back to what it was. Oh, and then as you're going throughout the board, spot plus plus will go to the next spot on the board. And we should also decrement num to distribute because now we put a token in the spot, so we have one less token to distribute. Now, what's this if statement for here? Well, this if statement is basically when, let's say I'm distributing my tokens, I'm going like clicking this and it goes boom, boom, oh, it goes off the end. So that's what that's for. So if I reach a spot at the very beyond the end, I want to wrap back around to the leftmost spot. So what do? So if spot is greater than board.length minus 1, in other words, if we're already at the end, so board.length minus 1 is the last spot. If we're bigger than that, then we should go back to the beginning. So it says if we're bigger than that spot, spot will become 0, which is our beginning spot. That's pretty much the solution to the problem. Give me just a minute. Here is the final solution that I use for the problem if you would like to write this down, although I'm going to go over another solution really soon in 3, 2, 1. So solution 2 is basically pretty much the same as solution 1. I just wrote the loop a little bit differently. If you have any questions on that, let me know, but it's pretty much the same thing. Let's look at solution 3 though. So, notice for solution 3, instead of that if statement where I said if spot is greater than board.length minus 1, spot equals 0, I went ahead and I just did one statement, and this is like a modulus statement. So what I did was I just said, let's make spot become itself mod board.length. Now, why would that work? Well, let's think about this. Let's say I have 5 different spots on the board. Alright, so here are my 5 different spots. What positions are they? Well, they would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this case, what would board.length be? Well, board.length would be 5 because there are 5 positions. So let's just pretend that my spot is beyond the length of the array. Let's just pretend that my spot is 5. Well, what this line will do is it will make it just become what it was, mod board.length, which is 5, which will actually make it go back to 0. So if we reach spot 5, we're really wrapping around. Let's try this with another number like 3. Well, with 3, nothing will really happen because what's going to happen? Well, 3 mod 5 is just 3. So spot will say the same. So if the spot is within the bounds of the array, it's not going to actually change because 3 mod 5 is 3. If the leftmost number mod another number is smaller, it's just going to be that number anyway. Let's try a different number for spot. Let's try 7. So, if we do 7 mod 5, 7 mod 5 is 2. So what that'll do is, if we're at 7, it's going to go like 5 should wrap back around to 0, then 6, and then 7. So this ends up working pretty well to wrap things around using just one line of code. And that's pretty much it for the solution for part B. And the College Board basically has a very similar solution right here, just writing the loop a little bit differently. So that's pretty much it. Feel free to scan the documents for all the solutions and watch the other videos for hints and the explanation of the problem for TokenPass. Thank you.